This is Arthur, and even though he's an old boy, Arthur learns new tricks all the time. But I'm kind of an old dog myself, so the question is, can I learn new tricks when it comes to my gaming? Since starting this channel and starting to share my journey as a new PC gamer, I've really loved hearing from other adult gamers in the comments with their advice. And if there's one suggestion that I have heard more than any other one, it's this. You've got to try mouse and keyboard gaming, especially for first-person shooters. And I've really appreciated the suggestion, but the thing is, mouse and keyboard gaming is like kryptonite for me. I've avoided it for decades, and the idea of starting it now at age 43 seems intimidating. And even once I got a PC, I just kept telling myself that it was pointless to start over when controllers were already so comfortable. But I've got a brand new YouTube channel, I'm trying to break routines this year, and so I decided to commit to an experiment. For an entire month, I forced myself to play with mouse and keyboard, and I filmed myself the whole time. It was frustrating, it was uncomfortable, and there were times that I genuinely regretted committing to it. But along the way, a few things happened that really surprised me. And it was actually an adult learning journey that you might want to try yourself if you're a hesitant old school couch gamer like I was. But before we get to where I ended up, let's go back to the beginning. I chose Fortnite for my proving ground for this experiment. It's a game that I have a ton of hours into, I play it a lot with friends, and it's an easy one to just pick up and put down, and it's just a lot of fun. So it seemed like the ideal game to dive into to give it the old college try. Now, fair warning, I may call myself the friendly Xennial gamer, but my reactions to my first attempt to play a match with keyboard and mouse were decidedly not friendly. Who the fuck wants to play like this? Oh, fuck. Oh, shit. Jeez. Ooh, sorry, forgot to bleep that last one. Yeah, to put it plainly, I was really shitty. I was a complete fish out of water. I couldn't sort out whether I should invert my mouse like I do my joystick. I had no idea what any of the controls were. And when I even looked at the list of keyboard controls, it was totally overwhelming and made absolutely no sense to me.
This feels ridiculous to me. This just genuinely feels ridiculous to me. Normally with some sort of choice in gaming, I can sort of understand the point of view. I can't understand how this could be better. It's just crazy to be playing a game that I have literally thousands, probably, I don't know, lots of hours into, and to feel like you can't control it effectively.
I had heard all the comments about the benefits of mouse and keyboard loud and clear, but I couldn't actually feel any advantage to it in real world use at all. Part of the problem in the early goings was that I didn't want to play with mouse and keyboard because it was stripping all of the fun out of Fortnite, which, you know, is the point of playing. But despite all that, I stuck with it. And you know why?
Because it builds character. And I'm 43 years old. I need to keep building character.
Yeah. That's the spirit. I tried to stay positive and look for at least some little things that I could feel the benefit of despite the unfamiliar interface.
It is genuinely nice to be able to click around the menu with a cursor. That's cool. So like being able to go from item to item just with numbers on the keyboard, okay.
But really, over those initial sessions, despite my best effort, when it came to actual gameplay, I was pretty much a mess.
Oh God, I can't figure out how to get into the pause menu. It's moving too fast. I don't know how to get out of this car. It feels jumpy. Oh my God, I don't know how to thank the bus driver. I literally am melting down. I'm in the storm, melting down. I don't know how to switch to my harvesting tool. Jeez.
Yep. Really just a complete mess across those first few days. I wasn't sure that I would ever be able to get to a place where I could get lost in the game and actually have fun using these controls. I kept trying to map in my mind which symbols from my DualSense mapped to which buttons on the mouse and the keyboard. It was ridiculous. And I was initially afraid to even mess with any settings for fear that I would make it worse than I was already playing. But ever the optimist, I kept trying to fight through the failure and I kept trying to stay positive.
All right, on a much more positive way of looking at it, it's cool. It is cool to be working out a different sort of set of muscles, right? It's like, I feel like my gaming habits are so ingrained in me that it's fun to have the opportunity to actually try skills learning, right?
Right. Good attitude. Keep it about the skills. But did I really buckle down and get right to work focusing on actually building those skills? Nope. First, I did what every stubborn aging gamer does.
This is just a keyboard that came with my system. I don't know, maybe if I had a gaming keyboard or something of a higher quality.
That's right. They say it's a poor carpenter who blames his tools, and here I was blaming the tech for my inability to knock even one enemy out during my first few sessions playing with mouse and keyboard. If I'm being honest, I'm always looking for a reason to try new gear, and in fairness, I had heard from a lot of viewers in the comments with recommendations about gaming mice and keyboards that they they thought might be really helpful to me on my journey. So I gave into the urge, and before too long, I was on my way back from Best Buy, where I scored a Corsair K70 gaming keyboard and a Dark Core RGB gaming mouse, hoping maybe they might be a magic bullet that might level me up. They both had really good reviews online, and I already have a Corsair desk mat that I really like, so you know, matchy-matchy. But as excited as I was to have some new gear in the house to try out, I had genuinely been bad enough in my first few sessions that I had lost really all momentum or motivation to keep playing. So once I got them home, they stayed in the box, moving from place to place in my apartment for a few days before I finally got my act together to recommit to the experiment, do a quick plug-and-play installation, and jump back into a battle royale. And I don't know if it was the new gear or if it was just some of the repetition finally starting to pay off, but something happened in that first match back.
Whoa! I knocked him!
That's right, I knocked my first opponent with mouse and keyboard. This experiment was over and I had been a great success.
Ah!
Just kidding. I literally got killed 2 seconds later. I was still terrible.
Okay, but I knocked someone. I knocked someone with keyboard and mouse, and that's momentous.
It was momentous, and I did feel at least a little bit more at home as I started out my second week of play. I was starting to land shots and hold my own in firefights, at least just a smidge. And yeah, it felt good using the new gear. It felt more premium. It felt like I had a little bit more control, and it motivated me to want to play. But really, it's not like the new gear was some sort of magic bullet. It didn't make me a better player overnight. What actually had a bigger impact was when I decided to finally slow down and take a lot of the tips and advice that I'd heard from viewers in the comments about all of the settings that you could set in the game and in Windows itself that could adjust and improve the feeling of control in the game.
The inversion being right, that feels really good. That feels much better. Having enhanced precision in Windows turned off is making my movement feel so much smoother. There's not that jumpy quality, and honestly, even just that makes me feel like I can get lost in the game a lot more.
I also downloaded and dove deep into the IQ software for my Corsair mouse and keyboard, and I started assigning macros and keystrokes to side buttons, and that felt like it made a huge difference.
So having stuff mapped to mouse buttons is, I can already tell, definitely more helpful. And I don't know why I didn't do that before I jumped in to play my first game.
I don't know why he didn't do it either. As with most things on a gaming PC, you have a ton of control, but you have to work for it. The new mouse and keyboard hardware had features that I uncovered that I hadn't even considered. They unlocked real value in my gameplay, and it actually extends beyond gameplay to my productivity. Suddenly I had a one-hand workflow with my mouse using all the side buttons to do different things in Premiere Elements or adjusting images in Photoshop. But this is a gaming experiment, not a productivity experiment. And while the new tech and adjusting my settings had helped, I was still pretty bad at Fortnite with keyboard and mouse. I never really got much more than middling results, and I still felt overwhelmed. So with less than 2 weeks left in my experiment, it was time to try something other than on-the-job training. And once again, it was the suggestion of a viewer of this channel that steered me in the right direction towards an app called Aim Labs, which is solely designed to help train players to get them better at first-person shooters. It's actually a free download on Steam, and I was immediately impressed by just how feature-rich it is for a free title. It allows you to select a specific game to build your skills for, so I chose Fortnite, of course, and I selected from the available styles and personalizations, and I dove in. First, it had me do a set of initial ranking exercises for Fortnite, and those confirmed what I had suspected all along. I was bad. And then it launched me into a recommended course of training with a variety of exercises that really broke the process of mouse and keyboard gaming down into individual parts. In what is sort of a delightfully old school, graphically simple shooting range simulator, I found myself working on anticipating and hitting moving targets, hitting enemies above and below you, and getting feedback on things that I hadn't even stopped to consider, things like flick speed and slowing down your aim as you approach a target. It was basically like taking a first-person shooter and breaking it down into little pieces so you can train your brain and your muscle memory, and it's both weirdly simple and also deceptively deep at the same time. But the thing that genuinely shocked me was how much of a blast it is to play.
Aim Labs might be the most fun I've had with a game. I mean, it's early, but certainly in 2026.
All right, relax, buddy. We're like 2 days into 2026. But really, it made a huge difference to my experience with training mouse and keyboard to actually have fun doing it. And I was having more fun in Aim Labs than I was in Fortnite. I was steadily completing packages of training exercises, I was ranking up, but I wanted to film this experiment in a month and I only had about 10 days left. So I decided to go premium and actually give Aim Labs Plus a shot, hoping that would help to accelerate my training. And Aim Labs Plus unlocked additional challenges and features, and I started dedicating more and more of my gaming time just to training. I struggled, and I definitely failed challenges from time to time, but I tried to spend at least a little bit of time every day plugging away at least a few exercises. And Aim Labs Plus provided additional information about pace and prediction of targets, and it also has a pretty incredible feature called Sensitivity Finder that tracks your targeting over time and helps you set your sensitivity on your mouse to get better results. It's awesome. I felt like I was getting trained by a computer, sort of like Ivan Drago in Rocky IV, except I'm American and not that tough. And speaking of not being tough, I actually found once I got serious of training, I was sore. Following the instructions and the guidance in Aim Lab, I was using my arm and my body to aim in a way that was unusual for me. And I was literally feeling it after playing. I'm not saying I was exercising or anything, but it was definitely a fun and a sort of tiring feeling to learn new muscle memory and to drill it into your body. I'm 43 and I don't do that sort of thing with a new skill very often these days. So for 10 days I kept at it, spending the vast majority of my gaming time in Aim Labs, but letting myself pop over to Fortnite every so often just to check my progress. And little by little, but noticeably, I started getting better. Still wasn't great, but I was capable. I was able to slow down and calm down a little bit and actually hold my own when an enemy got nearby. I was still thinking a lot, and I was clumsy like a baby deer. What? They're clumsy. But finally, I definitely was getting better, and right when the month point hit, I actually had the chance for a fun real-world test. Earlier this week, I got home from work, and I hopped on PlayStation, and some of my friends were playing Fortnite, and they invited me to their session. And despite my fear of embarrassing myself in front of my friends, I decided to switch over to the PC and try joining their session to play Fortnite with mouse and keyboard for the first time in a party. And you know what? Much to my surprise and delight, the addition of my friends was just the ticket. As I was chatting with them and having a good time, I got lost in the game, and I just got into the same sort of flow that I usually do with a controller. And I was putting points on the board. I was knocking and even eliminating other players left and right. Playing in a party with mouse and keyboard with my friends alongside me, I finally found that the control method wasn't a barrier to the main objective, having fun. And once I was having fun, once I sort of built up my confidence a little bit, all of a sudden I felt like I was an asset to my team. And we actually started doing pretty well. And by the end of that night, to use a mouse pun that I've been waiting to drop this entire video, something clicked. Where I had started out a month earlier wondering why the fuck someone would want to play like this. After my month-long experience culminating in a fun and successful late night session with my friends, I finally understood the benefit of mouse and keyboard. I understood why someone would want to play with this control method. There's a level of speed and precision to using a pointing device like a mouse that you just can't get with a joystick or a D-pad. Will a player with a mouse beat a player with a gamepad 10 times out of 10? No, obviously not. There's lots of factors that go into real-world play in any kind of first-person shooter. But after a month of breaking FPS skills down into individual trainable pieces, I feel confident that if you're willing to work at it, they do give you an overall advantage against gamepad players when all things are equal. Now, am I good at mouse and keyboard gaming after this month-long experiment? I am not. I'm still garbage compared to most players. But am I going to keep at it and keep training? Yeah, I am. Because the real gift over this last month isn't suddenly getting good at Fortnite. I'm not. The gift was the fun and the satisfaction that I got from working on a skill. One that, and I'm being sincere, kind of stretched me physically, but definitely stretched me mentally. In the end, this wasn't really a gaming test. It was a midlife neuroplasticity experiment disguised as a gaming test. And I passed, and I'm sort of proud of myself for passing. I pushed through adversity, I adapted, and this old dog learned a new gaming trick. Now, am I going to stick with it for good? Is it suddenly my preferred way to play? Definitely not. I have 40 years of controller gaming logged, and that's not going away overnight. I still prefer that form factor overall, and I actually also really missed my controller's haptics all throughout this experiment. I missed that tactile feedback. But I now absolutely understand what players are talking about when they talk about the in-game operational advantage of being able to aim with a mouse, being able to flick for fast turns, and being able to use macros on a keyboard. But more importantly, I spent an entire month breaking my routine and attempting to learn a new skill, and at least to a basic degree, I conquered it. By the end of the month, I was able to game with a mouse and keyboard, I was able to contribute to my team, and I was even able to actually kind of get lost in the game and have fun while doing so. And as an aging gamer, breaking the cycle of routine and trying new things is thrilling, it's challenging, and it's good for the body, the mind, and even the soul. Even if keyboard and mouse won't be my default method of control, control, and even if I'll probably never use it for narrative-driven adventure games, I'm absolutely still going to work on it because the exercise of working on the skill itself was fun in its own right, and it was genuinely rewarding. So to all of you viewers who encouraged me and provided me feedback and tips along the way, I say thank you. Drop me a note in the comments and share your experience, and maybe share some advice that you've picked up along the way. Till next time, I'm Owen, the friendly Xennial gamer. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more. My channel is just starting out, and your support really helps me get connected with new viewers. Thanks for watching, and thanks for subscribing.